But here we have our drafts for this series here already. So we have Ramen, as we mentioned, from Norway, up against Finland's Themos here. And here we see the pick. So first game will be Ottomans against Abbasid. So Ramen will be piloting the Ottoman Empire here for us, whilst the Abbasid Dynasty will be helmed by Finland's own Themos here on Dry Arabia, as we mentioned. Looking at the picks and bans here, so we have quite a usual Rus ban on Themos' side, so Ramen will not have access to that in this series. On the other side, HRE is taken away from Themos. Two very strong picks in this meta, as we've seen in numerous games so far already, and they will not be present here for either player that has behind them, of course, because they are exclusive to the players. So after that, we have English taken away from Ramen, English also taken away from Themos in the third ban. Byzantine's gone for both, and then Ramen has also lost HRE from Themos' ban, and Delhi taken away for Themos by Ramen. So we're just getting ready to go into the first game here. In terms of the matchup, this is an interesting one because Abbasid is just one of those power picks that are very versatile. Reminds me a little bit of Rus recently, actually, because, you know, they can kind of do anything and, in a way, get away with it if you play it well enough, can't they?
Dragonman is hearing you. He said specifically, yes, I love it because it is so very flexible. We are into the first match, watching Themos here spawning in the green on the western side. And we've got Ramen with the Ottomans here on the southeastern. And opening with the military school here against the Abbasid. What do you think the Ottomans' game plan here is? Because Abbasid can very easily just run away with the game if you let them. How would you approach this matchup?
I think it's a tough one for Ottomans nowadays, to be honest. After, in the most recent patch, we have seen multiple nerfs coming in for the Ottomans. They were in a very oppressive spot in the previous patch. Everyone remembers, you know, it turned into even a bit of a meme, as we know, with fast imp strategy from the Ottomans gaining quite a lot of traction. Of course, that's all in the past now, as they've received some rather deserved nerfs, I'd say. Some might say a bit over the board, but that is still yet to see. But they definitely have fallen out of favor slightly in the last few months. Opening up, though, I mean, you know, Ottomans, they have a few things going for them still. Obviously, the military schools is never something to underestimate. 3 units in an RTS game is definitely a very powerful tool to have in your arsenal, which Ramen will most likely seek to utilize here. Opening military school is quite stock standard here from Ottomans, of course. If you can get any kind of pressure on that gold, and against Abbasid, quite commonly stone as well, then that's a good spot to be in for sure.
I mean, the least you do is you force out that military wing that we're seeing right now. Ottomans, of course, being a little late there on the H-up because you do invest in the military school and you get the profit of being able to pressure the outside resources, specifically the gold that has spawned on top for Themos there. And he's going for the twin minaret madrasa. So are you a believer in the mill, or do you enjoy the trade?
I'm still of the opinion that there's a lot of value in the twin minaret madrasa. We have seen a resurgence in the Sultan Ali trade network, of course, for the Ottomans recently. Quite a few top players are going for it. And, you know, numbers-wise, it makes sense, of course. In terms of pure resources, the Sultan Ali does give you more income. The more traders you scale, then the twin minaret madrasa. But at the end of the day, you know, Ottomans, they're not especially gold hungry. Definitely in the early parts of the game, they're not too gold hungry, and later on that only stays the same. Being able to generate 3 units, which can be, of course, armored luxury units that cost gold later on, is, you know, makes it so that they're not quite as gold hungry as other civilizations. So having access to a lot of early food is very useful, I would say. So either choice is fine, in my opinion. So I'm not too surprised to see either one here, but twin minaret is just a bit more comfortable, a bit more standard, right? We're used to seeing it. We know it's reliable. And that's what we will see here today. But military wing units are about to pop out now, just to harass that early spear and make them go away.
Yeah, Themos is immediately moving over to the stone here. And he did get enough gold to queue up the all-important fresh food stuff already going on right now. Being moved to the mill was such a beautiful quality of life change there. So you always get it now. And he's already sitting on almost 300 wood. So his TC time is going to be really good. So do you think Ramen can punish this if he goes for heavy aggression? So the Ottomans, they're sometimes a little slow to attack you, especially if you invest into extra military schools early.
Yes, I believe if you open a military school, you'll be tough pressed to try to stop or even, you know, offset a favorable TC position here from the Abbasid dynasty. It does delay your range up significantly, and the spears, you know, with the military wing opening, the spears will be pushed away. Two archers will deal with that quite effectively. No stable opening here from Themos Abbasid, which is something we have seen in some matchups here. That can be a choice, and it makes sense, really, right? If there's already spears on the field, there's not too much to be gained from a horseman or two here. So getting that earlier TC timing is certainly useful.
Yeah, Themos is already up to 300 zone, only needs the 50 left there. Ramen, meanwhile, he's opening with the archery range. The military school has been swapped over to the Sipahi, and we immediately see some archers entering the field, but he's also going for his upgrade still. So his timing attack is gonna be quite late, because he's scaling right now.
Yes, I'm wondering what Ramen's strategy here as the Ottomans per se. I think there can be a lot of value to be gained here from just going a few units, one archery range potentially, one stable, getting your other military school, just feigning a bit of aggression onto the Abbasid, get them to commit 2 units, because as we know, the age up for Abbasid dynasty, whether to feudal, to castle, to imperial, is slower. That is, of course, because they go for it from the House of the Wisdom without using any villages to age up, which is a double-edged sword. Although, you know, you don't have to use any villages to age up, allowing your economy to sustain itself in the same spot it was before. As a result of it, you also can't speed up that age up if greatly necessary, which could be the case if Ramen does decide to suddenly stop unit production and go for a castle age instead.
Yeah. TC start timing 6:30. I mean, it could be slightly faster, but he did also walk for a long while. This TC is in the middle of nowhere at the edge of the map. It does protect the berries nicely. There's the gold right next to it, but if I'm looking for a point to attack here as the Ottomans, as going feudal all in, this is where I'm going.
Yes, a somewhat prudent spot for the TC, I would say, here from Themos. Both of his deer packs are close by, but they're quite far forward, especially having to walk around that wood line. It makes it a little bit scary to go so far forward with a TC. But yeah, he will not opt for that today. Instead, securing one of the gold, which is always nice, and behind that a berry bush as well. So not a bad spot at all, and easy to defend for sure.
So how do you think this is going to progress now? What is Themos' plan? He basically just has to feudal, right? Because otherwise he's going to die.
Essentially, yeah. I believe a high number of archers here from the Abbasid dynasty can do very, very effective defense. Of course, many people forget the boot camp upgrade from the House of Wisdom that the military wing gives you access to in feudal age. It's a very powerful technology and not very expensive either. Same price as a blacksmith upgrade, gives your units extra HP, which comes in absolutely crucial in these defenses of the second town center when typically you will have less units even though you're on the defensive.
Yeah, you just really want that standing power. Themos has secured himself that gold. Oh, is that scout gonna make it though? He's gonna run straight towards the TC, right? Does Themos realize?
A little bit of a tricky
Oh, he's just
spot.
gonna try to wall him in. I guess that works.
Yeah, denial on the scout's path here with the wall. Good reactions by Themos. They're trapping the scout, and this is fairly significant here. Losing the scout does mean that Ramen will miss out on some information here. He is still making units here, but not much pressure put in by now. However, it is difficult, right? That TC is very safe. Maybe he could look to put some pressure onto this wood line here, but we don't see that as of now. One Sipahi only going forward, but here we go. The units begin to march, supported by the Mechta, and Themos' own scout goes down as well.
Yeah, no vision for either player now. Ramen's forces are pretty significant now. We've got 14 archers, no steeled arrow though just yet. And he has 6 spears to his name. Against what exactly? I think the military school, the second one, might still be switched to the spears at this point in time. Usually I'd say it's a preemptive expectation of the horsemen coming in, which I would expect from Themos, but there's also just the ease of just massing up the range ball, even against the Mether, who gives you the extra +1 range defense and extra blacksmith upgrade. And Ramen's going immediately into the siege works here, into the siege engineering.
Yes.
Archers moving forward.
Just closing in on the TC here, Ramen is with archers on archers main here for now. Quite interesting to see spares here from Ramen. As you said yourself, Askeladd, perhaps there might be an anticipation to some horseman play potentially by Abbasid, but they are very expensive on the food, which you're already quite in dire need of as Abbasid, even with fresh food stuff. I mean, you're working and scaling 2 town centers at the end of the day, right? But straight away, Ram coming in from Ramen, foregoing all other military upgrades to get as quick of a timing as he can muster on this. And with so many archers, I feel like Themos on the Abbasid should be able to hold just fine here. You know, the lack of Sipahi from Ramen could end up hurting him here if he's not careful with his micro or if he overcommits.
Ramen's clown carring.
Here we see it. Ram coming in 16 archers, 9 garrisons inside. If he's quick on the draw here, he can start picking up reinforcements. The method will be crucial in this offensive here. You know, the extra ranged armor that he can give you from the aura is very, very significant against such a large archer ball from Themos. But good snipe by Themos. Just there we see archers on archers constantly going in and out of the Ram as we see the clown carring is in full session, as we can tell. Good effective micro so far by both players, I must say. Thinking out the method was significant. Villagers going in onto the Ram, however, a few do go down. 5 already dead on Themos' side. The villager lead is starting to dwindle. The Ramen is going deeper and deeper, chasing in those archers. One Sipahi will serve a neutral frontline. He does end up going down, but suddenly Ramen does find himself outmassed here. He needs to pull back, I think, if this mass is to survive. Villagers on the Ram now pulling out, and they are starting to torch it down, and the HP is dropped rapidly, as we can see.
Do you think Ramen did some damage here? He did kill 6 villagers, and the push is still going, but Themos has 24 archers. He's going to be able to hold this. Ram is also gone at this point in time. I feel like the clown carring can definitely work, but the Archer Ball was already over the 16 that you can fit in there. So even without the horseman, you can just deal with it by sitting on top of it.
It's quite a risky move, I think, for sure. Like you said, I mean, you know, if you do end up going over the amount of units that can fit inside of the Ram, which is, of course, 16, you run the risk of, you know, just making the control a bit harder on yourself, because you have to worry about the units outside of the Ram, as well as the units inside of the Ram. They have to pull out and go back in.
This could be really big. Oh. Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, dive on the wood line. He's taking out 2, 3 villagers immediately, and out he goes. Yeah. Really nice dip and dive by Ramen here.
Well said indeed. Good pickup here for Ramen. 3 more villagers that he kills under his belt, and suddenly only a 7 villager lead for Themos here. Now, Ramen needs this, right? Because he doesn't have too much going for him behind this. He continues to scale a lot of units here. More and more archers going out onto the field, as well as spears. I would really like for him to start adding some Sipahi here. If he just stops this spear production, just goes into a stable or 2, combined with the military skills production of the Sipahi, just a few Sipahi can actually end up turning the tide significantly.
I feel like the spear are just there for the burn at this point. But Sipahi could do that as well.
Sipahi charging in onto the Archmass. Only 2 on the field now. These are expensive units to lose at this stage. They do serve as a valuable frontline here, able to even out some of the archer numbers here in favor of Ramen. But now archers on archers. The significant difference here is that Undermesh just coming in for Themos as we speak. Just a couple seconds away, it is in now, and now these archers should start trading a little bit better, but the archer mass for Ramen is actually growing in number at a faster pace than it is for Themos, which makes sense, right?
19 to 32 at this point. The Ottomans, of course, they do have the faster production. Their production buildings are also cheaper, and Themos is actually a little pressed for food at this point. Is Ramen not gathering from his landmark? He isn't. Let's not put it against him, because his archer ball is up to 36. Let's see what he can do with it. Method just came out of the military school, that's why it took so long. So he's gonna have the extra upgrade in the next fight, giving him that good old boost. Is he gonna go for range defense, I wonder? Because he does have the resources for it. It would be quite nice to push this.
It would be a very useful choice to get Undermesh himself as well, especially when diving these TCs offensively or even just the base slightly. I mean, Themos is running full archers, as you can see, right? So it makes complete sense that Iron Undermesh is the upgrade to go for. But what I like here in Ramen's position is that he is recognizing the importance of these 2 deer packs. And, you know, he's not extending too far forward to where he loses his mass. He knows that this food will be crucial for Themos if he's to hold this defense here. And once those berries run out, and the sheep start running out, Themos will be forced to push out in order to take these deer packs or potentially build some farms to be able to sustain this defense. And that is when Ramen's time to strike, or the castlage potentially is gonna put him in a position that could look to close the game up potentially.
Speaking of closing the game up, the berries just ran out in the back. The other berries, they are forward, right where the Ottoman army just crossed paths. This is looking a little rough for Themos. His food income is still okay with the rest of the sheep, but they're about to run out. Like, this is going to be very, very rough. Whereas Ramen has the lay of the land, has the entire map to himself for now.
Close to 60 archers now on the field for Ramen. Not quite double Themos' count. Themos himself is doing a good job massing, making some space as well. The Sipahi can be very dangerous if the number begins to grow. Now we see Ram on the way again for Ramen. I would love to see a second Ram here if he looks to make this push, but I think this is a decent timing that he's going to go for now. There's no more berries for the Abbasid Dynasty, and the sheep will be running out very, very quickly with so many units being massed, as well as the 2 town centers making villages. So 1 Ram already finished. We'll see if a second one is on the way. Wheelbarrow now finally on the way for Ramen as well. And good move here by Themos, starting to cut off some of those archer reinforcements, and this is key, right? Every single archer in this kind of a feudal offensive, every single unit, spear, Sipahi, whatever it may be, is crucial. And these little things can add up over the course of the game and will determine whether this TC goes down.
Second TC has already been abandoned. It's going to take a while to burn it because he only has the 9 spears and the 3 there, with the Ram coming in. These 64 archers, though, they're looking pretty menacingly on the other side of that wall. And the wall is pretty thin. Like the Ram is going to go there in 3 hits, and there's really not a whole lot Themos can do about it. 52 archers prepped, but not having the food there for a moment. He's now on the berries at the front, but that really hurt him. He's trying to go for the flank here. Let's see if he can make it work.
Very aggressive flank here by Ramen. Cutting off the by Themos, excuse me. Cutting off the reinforcements was crucial and does snipe out the mech here on the offensive. Going straight from behind with the reinforcement line of Ramen, and he's going to stand and fight it decisively. But I just think that the numbers end up favoring Ramen here in this position, and he's forced to retreat. But however, losing so many archers on the retreat, Sipahi and spears in the mix as well, doing their own damage, and this is actually starting to look quite rough for Themos, I must say. The second DC did go down. The defense is not holding strong, and if we look at the army count now, nearly triple in favor of Ramen, and with those military schools working, I feel like it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, that was absolutely a horrible trade for Themos there. Going in against the extra method defense that Ramen had going, and he was also focus firing single archers with his entire ball, whereas Ramen was standing there auto-attacking on multiple targets at once. And with these numbers stacking up, well, they just take out more archers at once than the single target. Yeah, Ramen is in. We did see Ramen in a similar situation yesterday, standing in front of Valdemar's base with a ginormous ranged ball and then turning around.
It was a tough position in that game particularly. Of course, it was in Castle Age, and Voldemar's siege proved to be quite effective in his defense. However, no siege here for Themos. Of course, still being in the feudal age, we won't see a Mangonel here to save the day. Of course, defender's advantage is significant, so the numbers aren't looking too terrible here for Themos. However, the food situation, although he did manage to secure those berries, if only they are spotted by Ramen, then I feel like the game will just end up being over.
Yeah, Ramen's reinforcement line is all the way at the bottom. I feel like if you're in this situation, you don't fight that army. You can't fight that army. You just sit on that reinforcement line and force him to go around. Unless he's getting smart and just walking straight towards your TC and your villagers.
And spot there on the deer by Ramen, putting up an outpost quickly to deny his own deer from Themos there, as Themos greeted, and you can't blame him. He desperately needs food at this point to be able to make his defense work. And all the while in this grand fight here in Themos' base, the Ram is working away, right? 1 barracks, I believe, has already went down. Houses being taken out as well for Themos, as he's getting close to his population limit. Village elite is looking somewhat slim at this point, only 11 ahead, but the army count is what really matters here. 18 archers on the field for Ramen, more in queue, 3 Sipahi, 8 spears, 2 Rams now out on the field.
And there's the attack being on the berries, and this game is done. GG, Ramen takes it in a convincing fashion, breaking the second TC and then breaking the Abbasid defense.
And it is so crucial, isn't it, in these kind of feudal fights, 2 TC against 1 TC, it always comes down to the food, doesn't it? We have seen it time and time again where, you know, if you aren't able to secure those crucial food sources on the defense of your second town center, you just get outmassed so severely, especially against a civilization like the Ottomans, where those 3 units coming from the military schools, supported by the blacksmith's improved speed of production, can be brutal to deal with if you don't have the resources for it.
Oh man, look at that military value. It is rough. And I feel like, keep in mind, there's the spears that have been preemptively added, also mixed in there. So this was just Ottomans outmassing on both counts, even when going units that were not necessary in the strict sense. Even though I feel like, yeah, at some point you just have to add the horsemen, because otherwise you cannot deal with that range ball anymore.